Chris here, and welcome to my channel. As you can see by my setup, it's time to play Phase 10 Chooses, my TBR. It is October 27th, so I am ready and raring to go to film this to figure out what I'm going to be reading in November. I am taking part in 3 readathons in November. The first is Nonfiction November. This is my first time doing it, and I will have a separate video up with my TBR for that. I don't know which order I'm posting these in, whether I'm posting that one and then this one, or and then that one, so keep an eye on my channel. I'm very, very excited. I have been looking for something to kind of sink my teeth into, and so when I remembered that Nonfiction November was a thing, I checked it out, and I found some books I'm very, very excited to be reading. I will be doing the next round of the Final Book Support Group, which is the 11th through 17th, so that will also have its own separate TBR, though that will definitely be going up after this one because I might not get that one out until November. But again, very, very excited to be participating in the final round of that for this year and to get through some more series. And then I will be taking part in my own readathon, Phase Out Your TBR. We're working on Phase 7. And I will link my TBR in the cards above if you would like to see what I'm reading for that. As for other things I'm doing, I'm still doing Buzzwordathon. The prompt is Only, and I'm going to be reading The Only, which is book 3 in the Endling series. This is the third and final book in the series, so it's perfect. I get to finish a series, and it has my Buzzwordathon word in it, and it is by one of my favorite authors. So very, very excited to wrap this series up in November. Another series I will be finishing is the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, because I'm going to be reading As Good as Dead. This is part of the Bookstara Readalong, and I'm very, very excited to wrap this series up. I've actually really, really enjoyed this, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this one ends. And then I have a reread, as I will be rereading Malice. So the Catch Up Book Club, which is hosted by Becca from Becca in the Books, is moving on to its next series, and it's going to be the Faithful and the Fallen series, and then the follow-up series to that, which I don't know off the top of my head, but we will be reading the series. And I have been putting off Wrath, because when I read, I think it's Ruin is the third book, I remembered so little from Malice and its sequel, that I've been putting off Wrath because I was like, I'm going to have to read a recap or something because I'm just not going to remember, and I don't want to not enjoy it because I don't remember. And I'm spending half of the book trying to remember who everybody is, because this has a very expansive cast of characters. So when I saw she was reading it for the Catch Up Book Club, I'm like, this is perfect. I'll just reread the first 3. Hopefully enjoy the third one more, because I'm not spending half that book trying to place who everybody is, and just keep right on going. And if I need to and have a refresher before I pick up the next book, I can just go watch the live back and refresh my memory. So very, very excited to dive back into this series and hopefully finish it this time. Plus, go on to the follow-up series and read that as well. So, very excited to be taking part in all of those. The links and information for all of the read-alongs and readathons that I'm doing will be linked in the description below if you want to check them out. Now, for my nonfiction pick of the month, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is not on my nonfiction November TBR. I decided to do those separately and keep my nonfiction pick out so that I was reading just more nonfiction. And I'm going to be reading Becky Lynch, The Man by Rebecca Quinn. Rebecca Quinn is the person behind the character of Becky Lynch in wrestling. I love Becky Lynch. She is one of my favorite female wrestlers, so I'm very, very excited to hear her story. In her own words, I've heard really, really good things about this, and I'm just very, very excited to dive into it. Somebody reminded me of it and mentioned something they had read in it on Twitter, and I went, oh, right, I really need to get to that. And that's when I went, well, I don't have a nonfiction book picked out for November yet, so this one. This could also work for nonfiction November, because one of the words is path, and you'd be following her journey, her path to becoming, well, the man from Rebecca Quinn. Like, we get to see Rebecca Quinn and follow the path she takes to become Becky Lynch. So it could have worked for that, but I decided to kind of go a different direction with my nonfiction November books. So again, check out that TBR video if you would like to know what I'm reading for that. But this is my official nonfiction pick for November that I picked all on my own, that had nothing to do with nonfiction November. And then there's this. So this scares me because there's a lot of pieces of paper in here that, like, I finished the series, or I just recently went through my spreadsheet because I was trying to figure out what series do I want to work on in 2025? So like my 5 on Friday, where I will talk about the 5 series I want to continue and catch up on or finish in 2025. So I was looking at my series and I did DNF some because I realized I just didn't care to go back to them. So we may have to play with this for a bit. So let's see what I managed to get out of here. And I don't think there's a way to do this where I don't just do that. So we're going to go with this red one. We'll go from one back here. This cream one. I forgot I even had those color papers in there. And, oh, this red one. And I'm covered in papers. That'll be fun to pick up. Okay, my first series is... Okay, I'm not mad about this. Cat and Gamer. So the next book in this series is Cat and Gamer Volume 5, and I do actually own this one. So, awesome. In a month where I'm doing Phase Out Your TBR, it's always fun when I get to pull books off of my TBR. This is a series that follows Rico, who ends up adopting a kitten in the first volume and has no idea how to take care of a cat, but she loves video games, so she starts applying video game logic to taking care of this kitten. I absolutely adore this manga series, and I just cannot wait to dive back in and read Volume 5. This is such a fun series, so 0 complaints from me for this ending up on my TBR. The cream one fell down, but this is the second series. The Magical Bookshop series by Amanda Flower. Let me go see. So the Magical Bookshop series is one I've actually finished, so this can stay out because, well, I've completed the series, and we'll dive back in and grab something else. This purple one. I only lost one piece of paper that time. I actually picked them up. And so, of course, I have to dive back in. And I got, Bamboo Kingdom. So I can make this work. So Bamboo Kingdom is a series by Aaron Hunter. Anybody who's been on my channel for a while knows my love of Aaron Hunter. And this follows 3 pandas. And I believe the last book I read, which might have been book 3, I struggled to remember details. So I had wanted to do something where I waited for book 6 to come out and then just read the whole arc all at once, but book 6 does not come out until March. But if I read Bamboo Kingdom and start over with Creatures of the Flood in November, I could do book 2 in December, 3 in January, 4 in February, 5 in March, which should give me time to get book 6 for April. So this seems like a good time to actually dive into the series and do a reread and actually read my way through it. So it says, 1 kingdom, 3 worlds. The pandas of the Bamboo Kingdom have never forgotten the great flood that ended the peaceful life they'd always known. But for 3 young creatures born that day, the flood marks not an end, but a beginning. The beginning of their struggles to find a place in very different worlds. Leaf, raised in the sparse northern forest, works tirelessly to help her family find bamboo to eat. Rain, hot-tempered, refuses to accept a suspicious new leader in her southern forest community. And Ghost, clumsy and uncoordinated, worries he'll never fit in with his hunter family in the mountains. None of them know that there are others out there, but thanks to a mysterious tiger that's been threatening the kingdom, they will soon find each other and fulfill a prophecy that had been made long before they were born. So there are definitely some details there that, like, as I'm reading that are coming back, but it's also very fuzzy. So I think a reread is definitely in order, so I am totally okay with this, and I literally, at some point, I know I owned Creatures of the Flood. Do I know where it is? Not a clue. So I just ordered a new copy. So I believe I own the first 4 books in paperback, and I think I might have pre-ordered book 5, but either way I can get it from the library. So this is going to be a book that I pick up, and I will work to finish it next year when book 6 comes out. And this is like perfect timing for me to kind of restart that series. So no complaints with that coming out of my TBR jar. And then the third and final series I need to continue, The Vanquishers by Kayla and Bayron. So the third book in this series is not available at my library yet. So I have put it on my December TBR as a reminder that I do want to continue it. I'm going to keep it out of my TBR jar because there's no point in pulling it out because I know it is one I want to get to. So we're going to pull something out since I can't access it yet. I might have to wait like 6 months, which sucks. Because it's usually what happens is I'm in a library system that contains a bunch of different libraries. And if my library, the one that like issued my library card, had it, I could take it out. But because it is issued by a different library, only people who have library cards of those that library can take it out for like the first 6 months. So we'll have to wait on that, and we'll pull something different. But I have noted it down. Ooh, another tiny, thin purple one. Let's see. The one and only Ivan. I'm good with this. I'm really, really good with this. So the next book in the series is The One and Only Ruby, and I'm very, very excited to get back to this. I absolutely adore this series. The first book follows Ivan, who is a gorilla and is kind of living in this cage, I believe in like a mall of some sort. And we see a relationship he has with a dog named Bob and an elephant named Ruby. So we're now going to see a book told from Ruby's point of view. Like I said, I've absolutely loved the series, and as I mentioned earlier, Catherine Applegate is one of my favorite authors. The only reason I haven't gotten to this book is I have the first two in paperback, and I was waiting to get the third book in paperback, and then I was going to read it. But I will take it out of the library and read it now, so very, very, very excited to dive into this. So, that being said, we'll add the one and only Ivan back in there, because there is one more book in that series. We'll add Bamboo Kingdom, because I may get back to that, and Cat and Gamer, because there are other volumes of that. And I can put this away. This was very, very kind to me, which makes me terrified for what that's got in store for me, because I bet it's nothing good. Okay, onto my board and my game, now that that has been put away. It is the 27th, and the only books I have left to finish are A Flicker of Trouble, which I'm partway through, and Babel, which I'm hoping to finish tonight. I'm about halfway through that, and I'm really enjoying it, so I see no reason why I won't get a reward. So we're going to take this top card here, and I will be replacing the yellow 12. And let's mix these up. And I'll go for this one. So yellow 12 will come off the board and be replaced with a reward. We'll slide the yellow 12 back in the deck, and we'll give it a shuffle. Also, I did want to mention, I'm pretty sure that I have a reward that I got months ago that was combined 2 prompts, but I have no idea where the slip of paper went. At the beginning of October, I switched out desks, and I know I had it on my old desk, but I don't see it on my new desk. So I wanted to mention that I do still have that. I just don't know where the piece of paper is. So I have the ability to combine 2 prompts in the month of November. If I come up with a book that is like perfect, I can pull it back out again if I get a prompt that is like, you know, just completely perfect for it. Like if I put on Creatures of the Flood for Animal on the cover, and then I got Old Favorite Author, for instance, I could put it on there for Aaron, like Old Favorite Author as well. So I may pull that out this month, just so you're aware. We'll put those there. Even though I can't like find the piece of paper, it's here somewhere. And I know I didn't use it because I do keep track of the prompts. So if I had used my combine a prompt, I would have had 2 prompts listed for it. So, and I haven't, so I definitely haven't used it. I just don't know where the piece of paper is. You watch, I'm going to find it right after I'm done filming. That's how this works, right? So we've mixed the whatever prompt was yellow 12 back in, and I think we can dive in to the game. I'm going for phase 8, which is 7 cards of one color, which I've got, but I need to get rid of my yellows and get some blues. So let's dive in with draw number 1. Never mind, let's get into draw number 1, part 2. We're starting off great, y'all, with the wild. It's just fantastic. I love every second of this. Red 5. Odd page number. So for this, I'm going to do Becky Lynch, the Man, because it ends on page 363, which is an odd page number. And it is my nonfiction, so I want to get to it anyways. And if nonfiction were to come up, I have a few others I could pick from. So this is officially the first book that is on my Phase 10 TBR. We'll replace that with this. Draw number 2 is a yellow 11. The prompt for yellow 11 is scribd. So for Scrib, this just means using what is now known as Everand to read a book. And I'm going to go with Scander and the Skeleton Curse, which I know I'm holding physically, but I'm going to be listening to the audiobook via Everand or Scribd, however you would like to call it. So I'm going to count this because I am definitely not reading this without the audiobook. So this is the 4th book in the Scander series. It has just recently come out. I cannot wait to dive back into the story of Scander, who gets to become a unicorn rider, and unicorns in this world are not the bright, light, fluffy, happy creatures that you think of. So they're a little bit different, and I've enjoyed his journey, and I'm excited to dive back in and catch right back up on this series, because like I said, it just came out, and I want to keep this series on my up-to-date shelf. So this is another perfect choice. We'll replace that with this. Draw number 3 is blue. It's blue. We'll go with the 7 since, well, there's nothing that distinguishes a 1, a 5, and a 7. And I've got to use them all anyways, hopefully. So the yellow 7's prompt, as yellow 6 takes a dive, is fire on the cover or in the title. We're going to rescue prompt number 6 before I forget and put it back up there. So for fire on the cover and the title, I'm going to read Lay and the Fire Goddess, because there's fire on the cover, but there's also fire in the title. This is the 1st book in the Lay and the Fire Goddess series. Curses aren't real. At least that's what 12-year-old part Hawaiian Anna thinks when she listens to her grandmother's folktales about sacred flowers and family guardians. Anna's friends back home in Colorado don't believe in legends either. They're more interested in science and sports, real, tangible things that stand in total contrast to Anna's family's embarrassing stories. So when she goes back to Hawaii to visit her tutu, she has no interest in becoming the heir to her family's history. She's set on having a touristy vacation, but accidentally insults Pele, the fire goddess, and a giant hawk kidnaps her best friend, and apparently she learns that these curses are actually real and now must battle mythical creatures, team up with demigods and talking bats, and try to rescue her friend and appease Pele. So very curious about this. I don't know much about Hawaiian folktales, so I think this will be fun, and it is absolutely perfect for this prompt. We'll replace that with this and go for draw number 4, which is a red 7. And that's a reward. Now that one is helpful. This is a great reward. Watch 4 hours of Blood on the Clock Tower. Done. I can do that. I'm so happy with that reward. I watch a lot of Blood on the Clock Tower anyways, but now instead of reading on a night where if I'm a little bit behind and I feel like, I need a break, I have an excuse to watch Blood on the Clock Tower. Awesome. We'll replace that and go into draw number 5. In his blue. It would be a reward, but I want to finish my phase. Any other time I would be really excited to see it, but I kind of have to finish my phase, and I feel like it's not fair to cheat just to get a reward. Yellow 5. I almost took the 6. That 6 is bound and determined to come off the board. 1-word title. So, for 1-word title, I'm going to do River. I almost thought I was going to have to stick Malice on here, and while I want to get to it, I want the flexibility to be able to read it next month if I need to move it, because I do have next month to read it, because Becca's book club is every other month, so I would have time to read it next month. And then I remembered I'm reading the entirety of the Starless Clan arc of Warriors in November, or at least that's the plan, and they're all 1-word titles. So I'm going to read River. This is the 1st book in the Starless Clan arc of the Warriors series, and I have read this before, and when I picked up book 2, I realized I remembered nothing. So I had made the decision way back when I got book 2 that I would just wait for book 6 to come out, which it does in November. I've pre-ordered it, so I am going to rip my way through this arc in the month of November. I'm so excited to be back in this world. It is one of my favorite series. It follows forest cats that live in clans and have to try to coexist, and I cannot wait to see what happens in this arc and who we're following and which characters we get to see that we already know. And I'm just so excited to be able to put one of my favorite authors on here and read another one of their series. So we'll replace that with this. And then we'll go to draw number 6, which is also blue, which means I finished my phase, which means I get another reward. I think I have to deal with the yellow one first. Then I can do that. So yellow one is under 300 pages. So for under 300 pages, I'm going to read Cat and Gamer Volume 5. This clocks in at 153, so well under that 300 page mark. I'm excited to dive back into it, and I think it's an easy read to stick on my TBR for the month of November. We'll replace the yellow one with that. And then what I will do is pick a random card out of the deck for my reward for finishing my phase, and it is a skip. Which I'm going to adhere to and say that means I have to skip putting a reward on the board. Because the universe has decided that I don't get to have this reward. We're just going to mix that skip back in. I'm annoyed. Just all excited. All excited. Sigh. Oh well. And we'll go with draw number 7. Okay. Well, the universe hates me. So let's go to draw number 7, part 2. And we have a red 2. The prompt for red 2 is black hole. So this is a prompt that is based on Stephanie from Stephanie's book Versus TBR game. And when she lands on a black hole during her TBR Star Hop, she ends up having to pull a book out of her series to continue jar. So I have been using that. I used to have a tin, and I've, again, no idea where it went, that had books that I was really intimidated by, or series I wasn't chomping at the bit to continue, stuff like that. But we're just going to pull another series to continue out of my series to continue jar. It's another red one. Oh, I can do this. The Weary Dragon Inn. So the second book in this series is Fiends and Festivals, and in the first book, we're following Bev. I believe that's her name. Let me just double check. Bev, yes. Who has amnesia and ended up in this tiny little village, and sinkholes start appearing around town, and she has to try to figure out what is going on and why they're appearing. I don't know what's going to happen in book 2, but I enjoyed my time with book 1, so I've got no problem continuing this series in the month of November. And because I have a ways to go with that series, we'll also toss this one back in. Okay, now for certain this is going away for the month, because I don't think I have a TBR jar on here. So we'll replace that with this and go for draw number 8, which is a green 10, which is another reward. This is a month. Read an obligation read. For this, it just means I need to read a book that I needed to get to either for a readathon or a read-along. So I'm going to go with As Good as Dead, because this is the third and final book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and I'm reading it for the Bookstara Readalong. So it was a book I was going to get to no matter what. So absolutely fine with it being on my TBR. Perfect, great reward. We'll replace that with this and go into draw number 9, which is a green 1. The prompt for green 1. Disability rep or mental health rep. For this, I'm going to read Disability Visibility, First-Person Stories from the 21st Century. And this is, I believe, an essay collection that follows a bunch of people who have disabilities and decide to write about it. I've heard really, really good things about this, so I'm very excited to get into it and see how much I connect with it, which stories I enjoy and which I don't, because that's usually how things go with essays, and learn more about other people who are living with disabilities. We'll replace that with this and go to the final of my regular draws, unless this is somehow another wild, with draw number 10, which is a yellow 11, which is still not a reward. The prompt for yellow 11 is with a word related to gold. So this prompt took me a minute, as it always does, because I struggle to find words related to gold, and I decided to go with silver, because in the Olympics you have gold, silver, and bronze as the medals that are awarded. So you associate silver with gold, and I'm going to read The Silver Gate. This is a reread. I don't know when I read it, but it's on my series to continue, and I don't remember anything about it. So if I want to continue it, I got to reread it. So we're going to reread it in the month of November, and this is just going to be a month of rereads. Between this and Creatures of the Flood and River and Malice, like, it's just going to be the month of me refreshing my memories on series that I'm partway through and should have picked up sooner. So we're going to read The Silver Gate for word related to gold. We'll replace that with this. And then we get to deal with this pesky wild, and we'll see what I get on my die. With the way things are going, it's going to be like 5 or 6. Well, let's try that again. It does not count if it hits the floor. Okay. We got a 3. I'll take it. So wild 1, draw 1 is a red 2. And actually, I'm just going to stick that up here along with the wild. So a red 2. The prompt for red 2 is start a series. So for this, I'm going to read The Fairy Tale Detectives, which is the first book in the Sisters Grimm series. This is a book I've had on my TBR for a very long time, and I should really get to it. It is some sort of fairy tale retelling, I would assume, because the Sisters Grimm, and it was the Brothers Grimm that kind of wrote all the fairy tales, and it does say Fairy Tale Detectives, so we'll see if I enjoy this or not, because I've kind of moved past a lot of my fairy tale retelling phase, but we'll give it a shot, and if I like it, then I have a new series I can continue, and if I don't, then I can get it off my TBR and I can stop worrying about the series. We'll replace that with this. We'll go for wild 1, draw 2, which is a reward. Seriously, this game is full of ups and downs. The prompt for green 12 is remove 1 book from your TBR. I'm going to hang on to this. Let's say I can do this at any time going forward, so maybe at the end I will, because there could come a point where I have a prompt that I don't want to read. We'll see. Okay. We're going to put this here, and we'll go for wild 1, draw number 3, and get a red then. The prompt for red 10 is color wheel. So this is the site I use instead of a wheel, and I will click generate, and we'll see what color I'm going with. A luminous red. So I accidentally refreshed the page, so the luminous red is gone, but we all know it was luminous red. You saw that it was luminous red. So I'm going to read Mr. Limoncello and the Titanium Ticket, because I think this definitely has a ton of luminous red on the cover. This is the 5th book in the Mr. Limoncello series. I've really enjoyed this series, and I'm excited to dive back into it. So I think this is perfect. It's got a lot of that luminous red color on the cover, and I'm continuing a series, which is always a win. We'll replace that with this, and we'll pop our second wild up and see how many books I have to draw for that. 4. Oh, goody. And we're starting with a blue 11, which is a reward. Seriously, what is this game? My reward is no punishments next month. Okay. I'm going to hang on to this because I might as well try to read my TBR, because I officially have no punishments in the month of December. I want to thank Vanessa Hintz for giving me this idea for a reward, because that just made this a whole lot less stressful. We'll go with wild 2, draw 2, and we'll get an 8. Yellow 8. Randomize your TBR. So I have a spreadsheet with all of my owned books, and I believe it's pretty much up to date. So if I don't include the books where, like, I'm not on that book in the series, like, for instance, I would have to read Chains by Laurie Halls Anderson before I could read Forge and Ashes. I have 315 options, though I'm going to show you, like it says series whose books I can't read yet. So I might have to do this more than once if it lands on something like that. But I can go from 1 to 315. And we'll generate 23. So let's go back to my spreadsheet. And we'll go and see what book 23 is. So it is Murder at the Manor, which is by Catherine Coles, and it is the first book in the Tommy and Evelyn Christie series. I don't know anything about this. I believe it is a cozy mystery series that I got the ebook for. So, yeah. I guess we'll see if I can get to that one in the month of November. We'll replace that with this. Although, again, thanks to Vanessa, it doesn't really matter. Wild 2, draw 3 is a green. Blue 7. This game has fried my brain this month. Blue 7 is space on the cover. So for this, I'm going to put Simon Sort of Says by Erin Bow. And I actually forgot that this was an obligation read. So this is the quarterly pick for middle grade March. I don't know anything about it other than that, but that certainly looks like space, like he's lost his ability to stay on the ground. And a satellite dish, and again with the stars, makes me think of space. I know nothing about this except that it's middle grade, and it is the book club pick. So I was hoping to get to it anyway, so I might as well get to it for this. We'll replace that with this and go with Wild 2, draw 4, which is hopefully my last one, except when it's not. I'm running out of places to stick cards. Okay, Wild 2, draw 4, part 2. I'm like forgetting where I'm at. Okay, so this is a green 11. Vanessa, have I mentioned how amazing you are for giving me that reward and how much it's saving my bacon right now? Light cover. So for light cover, I'm going to read The Grandest Game. And this is definitely a light cover. I don't know anything about it. It's book 5 in the Inheritance Game series, but also book 1 in the Grandest Game series. I've enjoyed the first 4. I'm happy that I'm getting to this one in a much faster manner than I got to the Brothers Hawthorne, because I think I'd had that for over a year when I finally read it. So very excited to dive back into this. And I just want to let everybody know I am going to do my best to try to finish my TBR, even though I don't have to worry about a punishment. I'm still going to try to get through all of the books I mentioned. So we're going to see how I do. It's just there's less pressure because there is no punishment if I don't manage to do it. We'll replace that with this, and we get to roll the die for Wild number 3 and do 3 more pulls. Everybody's excited, right? We have a red 9. And I have literally gone through all of my little sticky things, so I've just had to make a new one for my red 9 here. We might as well create 2 more because I know I'm going to get at least 2 more right. This is the most, I think, chaotic game of Phase 10 I have ever played. Red 9. I didn't pull the prompt, did I? No. Okay, red 9. Dad pick. So I'm going to give my dad 4 options. The first is Dear Mrs. Bird by A.J. Pierce, which is the first book in a historical fiction series. And it says a young woman in 1940s London who longs to be a war correspondent inadvertently becomes a secret advice columnist. This is not a book I want to read this month, though it is on my physical TBR. So if he picks it, it's going to get me through a physical book. We Still Belong by Christine Day, which follows a young girl who is going to be writing a poem about Indigenous Peoples Day and is just having a very bad day, and we get to see her deal with that. And this is a book I would like to get to this month. The Anti-Book by Raphael Simon, which follows Mickey, and he's struggling. A book arrives, it's blank except for one line of instruction to erase it, write it. And he ends up filling the pages with all the things he would like to see disappear, and finds himself wandering in an anti-world the next morning where everything and everyone familiar is gone, and has to try to figure out how to get them back, which I do want to read this month. And then Aggie Morton, Mystery Queen, Peril at Owl Park, which is the second book in the Aggie Morton series, which I don't want to read this month, but is a historical fiction mystery series that's middle grade and is loosely based on Agatha Christie, and I really enjoyed the first one. So, I mean, I wouldn't be upset about reading the second one, but I'd rather not read it in November. So the winner is, hopefully my dad picked one of the 2 books I wanted to get to and not one of the other 2. You know, I don't. Well, at least this me doesn't. Editing me will know, but this me doesn't know, so fingers crossed. We'll replace the red 9 with this, and then go for Wild 3, draw 2, which is a yellow 9. The prompt for yellow 9 is A to Z title. So we're going to randomly generate a letter, assuming... Sorry about the ads. I don't know how to get rid of that. But we'll randomly generate a letter, and we get L. I need to read a book that starts with the letter L. For starts with the letter L, I'm going to read Like a Charm by Elle Macnicol. I know nothing about this book except for the fact that it was written by Elle Macnicol, and I've liked everything else I've read by her, so I am excited to see what this series is about. It says, people only notice Ramya Knox long enough to call her a troublemaker, except Grandpa. He sees Ramya and her neurodiversity as enchanting. She notices things when no one else dares to look, but even Ramya isn't prepared for the secrets that hide in plain sight. When Grandpa dies, he leaves behind a mysterious journal and one big secret. Magic is real. Ramya is hurtled into a quest in which monsters live, danger waits, and a hidden world needs saving. Too bad she's the only one that can see it. So hopefully I love this as much as I've loved Elle Macnicol's other books, and it is perfect for this prompt, with L being the start of this title. We'll replace that with this, and hopefully my last, very last prompt of this game for November, Wild 3, draw 3, is a yellow 3. We're done, because this can't make me put more books on. Even page number. So for even page number, I'm going to read The Only by Catherine Applegate. This is the third and final book in the Endling series, and it clocks in at 288 pages. It's also my Buzz Wordathon pick. I'm very excited to get to it, and it is the perfect book to end this ginormous TBR on. We'll replace that with this, and there you go. There you have it. There is the chaos of November's TBR. We'll see how much of this I can get through. I've actually lost prompts. There's 2. I don't know where they... Oh, they're on the floor. I'm betting that Cielo had something to do with that when I left the room. She was moving around. I guess I'll find out when I watch the video back. This is my massively overwhelming TBR. And I just realized that I need to draw one more prompt. Because No Punishments next month is not a replacement for a book. Oh no, I need to draw 2, don't I? Because I never redrew anything for remove one book. Oh, this is something. It's something. Okay. So I'm gonna have a green 5. Oops. Because I'm silly. And just did not think about the fact. Oh, I was so excited. Okay, green 5. Air on the cover or in the title. So for air on the cover, I'm going to go with wind, because wind is air. And this is book 5 in the Starless Clan series, so I've now pretty much guaranteed I have to get to the entire thing if I want to finish my TBR this month. So every time I think I'm done with this TBR, I'm not. I just keep finding more books I have to add. Okay. We'll replace that with this and draw an extra prompt for one of my other rewards, and it is a skip. Okay. Well, that means I don't have to pick a book. Okay. Now we are officially done. I don't think I've forgotten anything. If I have, Editing Chris will let you know. So hopefully you are not seeing Editing Chris now. No editing, Chris? Good. Very happy to hear that. This is my absolutely chaotic, just up and down, all over the place TBR. Apparently, all of the trick-or-treats that I had expected for October's TBR saved themselves for the end of the month when I played November's TBR. So, again, thank you, Vanessa, for making it so I don't have to get any punishments next month, because I'm going to do my best to finish this TBR, but I feel like there's a decent chance that I don't, so we'll see. And if I do manage to finish it, I get to keep this, which means I can use it in a different month. So that could work out really well in the future, which is why I'm going to attempt to finish it, even though I feel like it's probably not possible. But yeah, this, I'm sure, is a very, very long video that you all are going to enjoy immensely. So I'm going to wrap this up because I now have books everywhere in my room, and Cielo is now wrecking in the background because she would like to get out of my room. So thank you all for joining me for my TBR video. I look forward to seeing you all in November when I film December's TBR video to tell you how I did with this. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. As you can see, she's helping, or maybe you should be able to see her tail is in the way. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me fire emojis in honor of Lay and the fire goddess. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and we will talk to you next time. Bye!